Yeah, we've been 0-4 before. Last year we kind of started a little sloppy too. So, you guys can look at record all you want. We're not. We're looking at this next week and trying to get a win because that's really all that matters.
And Wolf, Ben Roethlisberger saying the key today is not to stack bad days. You want to start stacking those wins, and the Steelers still need a win at Heinz Field this season.
No question about it, and there's no better time than to do it this Sunday, but certainly all hands on deck. You got to get your superpowers together, bonded, go out there as a band of brothers and get the job done. And all it takes is one win. You get that one good win, and you feel good about yourself, come in the next week, and then it starts to stack, and that's what you got to do.
All right, let's start with the practice report for Wednesdays. A lot of names on this list today, so let's dissect it, maybe the good news and the bad news. So we'll start with some good news today. How about that? Mike Hilton was a full participant with his elbow wearing a sleeve at practice. Limited was Morgan Burnett. Both of those guys did not play on Sunday. Now, some of the names under did not practice we don't really need to worry about. Marquise Pouncey, Ben Roethlisberger, Joe Hayden, all coaches' day off. But the three at the top, Vince Williams dealing with a hamstring injury, as we found out from that in-game injury. Darius Hayward-Bay ankle injury, and then Chris Boswell left foot. He's new to the practice report, so that's one we're going to have to watch. But no Vince, so then it kind of starts the trickle-down effect of the next man up. And Wolf, we've seen this before.
Yes.
And Coach Tomlin said that Tyler Matakevich, LJ Fort, and even Matthew Thomas, an undrafted rookie free agent who people love during training camp and the preseason, would help fill that role if Vince can't go on Sunday. So what can you tell us about those three guys?
Well, you know that when you got Dirty Red out there, you have a guy who has a great ability to be able to read and run defense, and he's a guy that really anticipates well and gets to the intercept point between the offensive lineman and himself, or intercepts the back. He's got a great ability to be able to read that. Now, the thing that he lacks a little bit is speed, obviously, when it comes to pass coverage. So now you have LJ Fort, who's a little bit faster, has a little more speed, and they'll have a division of labor where they use both these guys. Now, the interesting thing to me is where a Matt Thomas, a guy who's strong enough to play on the inside, can lock out with great extension, and yet he is so fast he can play gunner on the punt team. So you want to utilize that ability, that special skill set, and where this fits in is where it's going to be very interesting to me to see on Sunday, because he is really one of these guys everybody's kind of whispering about, talking about the good things he can do, and now let's see if he takes a step up and starts to play, as Mike Tomlin referred to, as varsity ball.
All right, we had a chance to catch up with Tyler Matakevich after practice in the locker room. Here's part of that.
Yeah, I was going in on the Okie downs, and then bringing in LJ in on the quarter downs and trying to get Matt in, you know what I mean? This coach has got a plan. You guys saw it, you know what I mean? You guys are out there. Right now, we all just got to be ready to do our role, you know what I mean? Like I was just saying, coaches have a role. We just have to be able to execute it.
All right, and Tyler, as you were also saying, kind of talking about just playing to those guys' strengths and divvying up if Vince can't go. But now the other thing is Vince is also the quarterback of the defense. He's the one that gets the calls in and tries to set the guy. So how big of a loss is that if Vince can't go?
Well, Tyler's a guy who's very knowledgeable. He can read and understand and call the defenses. Bostic is fully capable too. Not worried about that at all. You just got to have that pinpoint guy and say, he's going to be the communicator. He's going to make the calls. You run with it. And besides that, both Dirty Red and Vince got great beards, so we got to get Boston. We got to get the rest of those guys in on the beard thing. All right, that's the key. Have a good beard.
I wonder why you're saying that. All right, well, thanks so much for joining me. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, Mike Prisuta joins me in studio. Welcome back, everyone. Just a quick note regarding the Steelers practice report for Wednesday. The Steelers have just sent out an email saying an edit has been made to the injury report, stating that Chris Boswell, dealing with a left foot injury, was a full participant. Earlier in the show, we listed him as did not practice, so just want to make that edit quickly now. But as I promised, Mike Prisuta is joining me for his perspective as we head into the Atlanta Falcons week. Mike.
Thanks, Missi. It's been a team effort that's created the 1-2-1 hole the Steelers have dug for themselves, and it's going to take consistent contributions from all three phases for the Steelers to dig themselves out again. But that said, there's little doubt who's going to have to do most of the heavy lifting, if not most of the digging, beginning this Sunday against Atlanta. That would be Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. The defense has begun to discover a little rhythm, according to head coach Mike Tomlin. The end result against Baltimore to the contrary. But rhythm aside, there's only so much the defense is going to be able to do against Matt Ryan. Limiting the damage and impacting the game via splash plays seems like a reasonable, if not top-end expectation. The running game can and must be better, but given time and a little more opportunity via a few more third down conversions, the running game can and will come around. James Conner isn't a bell cow, but he's good enough. And Chris Boswell needs to continue getting his kicks, something he resumed doing against Baltimore after a technical/mechanical adjustment was made following an uncharacteristically off-target start. All of that will help, but you're not going to beat Atlanta running the ball or kicking field goals. That means it's time for the Steelers' cream to rise to the top. That hasn't happened yet for a variety of reasons, defensive attention to Brown being one of them. But defenses have always paid close attention to Brown, and the Steelers have always found a way around it. What hasn't been happening often enough for whatever reason is Roethlisberger and Brown exploiting opportunities when they inevitably arise. 3rd and 4 in a 14-14 tie and 3rd and 12 down 3 in the third quarter against the Ravens were two such occasions. The Steelers didn't need Roethlisberger somehow escaping the pocket or Brown extending the ball against all odds in either instance. They simply needed two guys who have made careers out of doing what they do to do what they've always done. That'll start happening again with regularity. You can write that down. And the 3 interceptions to 3 touchdown passes ratio on Roethlisberger tosses to Brown so far this season is going to change dramatically. The key for the Steelers is they need that to start happening before the hole they've dug becomes too deep. And Missi, that is this week's Prisuta's perspective.
And I think it is a little bit jarring, and it's a great point because we're so used to them being this dynamic duo. Last year, that's all we talked about is just how they're always on the same page. They don't even have to look at each other. It could be a slight movement of Ben's thumb, and AB would know what he was saying or what he was doing.
Yeah, and Roethlisberger in particular looked great in training camp. There's no reason to believe that this is not going to come around. Hopefully it comes around this week because as I just got done elaborating on, the Falcons are capable of scoring a lot of points, and the Steelers need to match that this week. Certain games just have a look about them as you anticipate them, and this one looks like some points are going to be scored. I don't think there's any reason not to expect Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown to get it together and get it together quickly. And
as you can imagine, today is Ben's day, so Ben Roethlisberger fielded a ton of questions regarding the chemistry with AB and maybe what's off a lot. He was asked specifically if it's maybe not having a deep threat like Martavis Bryant on the opposite side.
Guys like Juju would probably argue with you that he's got the deep speed, and I think James would probably tell you the same thing. We might get a dose of Justin Hunter. So, and Haybay's still, I think, one of the fastest guys in the league. So, I think it really just comes down to me being able to get the ball to them when they're down the field.
You're not noticing the deep safeties giving Antonio more attention because of Martavis being gone?
Not any more than they have in the past. I mean, he always gets that safety look leaning. So it's just a matter of me being able to get them the ball.
All right, Ben and AB, just one of the issues the Steelers are dealing with this week. So, Mike, thanks for joining me. We'll bring Labs in and maybe talk about a few other coming up.
We should.
Okay.
It's always fun to hear from Labs.
Bob Labriola will be joining us next for Agree to Disagree. Don't go anywhere. All right. It's that time of the week, Agree to Disagree, the show with the motto,
I'm right, he's still wrong.
All right, let's see how this goes today, guys. The first statement, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Bob, you can go first.
Well, you know, that's a popular cliche, and I get the general meaning of it, but what we're talking about here is, it doesn't matter how you finish if you're losing to the Kansas City Chiefs 21-0 in the first quarter. It doesn't matter how you finish if you're losing to the Baltimore Ravens 14-0 in the first quarter. So I disagree with the statement because of the magnitude of the poor starts that the Steelers have put together so far this regular season. I mean, not only are they falling behind significantly on the scoreboard, I mean, it is so bad that the offense has yet to record even a first down on any of their game-opening possessions. And so, yes, a strong finish is helpful, maybe even necessary in some situations. You don't want to limp across the finish line, but if you put yourself as far behind at the start as the Steelers have, I just think it's too far, regardless of what you may be able to do at the end to make up.
Except it hasn't been. Yeah, they fell behind the Kansas City Chiefs 21-0. They tied the game going into halftime. You're back to square one. You're back to even. They fell behind the Ravens 14-0. Tied the game, back to square one, back to even. Cleveland, they were up 21-7 in the fourth quarter. How'd that work out? Tampa, they're up 30-10 at halftime. Hanging on at the end. You got to finish strong. That's where you can make up for a multitude of sins. The fourth quarter is when you win the game. And as Herm Edwards taught us a long time ago, the object is to win the game. It's not to start strong. It's to finish better than the other guy.
Do they have a little thing on the standings? I tied it at halftime. Do you get a little something
All right,
in there?
all right. Statement number 2. Time for the offensive line to dominate. Prisuta, you can go first.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. If you were following along at home with Mike Tomlin this week, he gave James Conner a thumbs up, even though the Steelers haven't been running the ball very consistently. Sounds to me like a few more holes would go a long way toward allowing the Steelers to get more rushing yards. They need more attempts also, and then that's a whole nother story. We won't go there now. But the offensive line has a chance this week, A, to make it easier on the running game and make James Conner more productive, and B, handle an Atlanta pass rush, which is, it's got some bona fides, as Labs likes to say. Tack McKinley and Vic Beasley are speed rushers off the end who have to be respected. Grady Jarrett comes up the middle. But the Falcons don't make it complicated to pass protect. They're going to rush 4 down linemen the majority of the time. You're going to know where they're coming from. All you got to do is block them. I think this would be a great week for the Steelers' offensive line to reassert itself. That would allow the running game to reassert itself. That would allow the cream that is Ben Roethlisberger to Antonio Brown rise to the top.
I'm going to agree with Mike on this one. I think he's actually got one right this time, and agree with the statement as well. And I'm going to go a little bit beyond, some of the X's and O's that he was just pointing out in terms of what a solid performance from the offensive line could do for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's time to kick some butts, and that can happen on defense, of course, but it also can happen on offense. And when it happens on offense, it's usually because the guys up front are kicking butts and taking names. And it's time that these guys are high pedigreed, high salaried players. And I understand that you need to run the ball more and more effectively. I get it. And Ben Roethlisberger needs time to do his thing so that he can get the ball to the receivers who can do theirs. But I also think that it's time for guys like David DeCastro and Marquise Pouncey, Marcus Gilbert, Ramon Foster, Al Villanueva to start kicking some butts. The Steelers need to get back to winning the battle of the hitting. They haven't been doing that lately, and if they continue not to be able to do that, they're going to keep losing games.
Labs always running out of time on his second point.
Yeah, I'd like to point out that he went over twice. That should disqualify him.
All right. Based on just the 2 statements, I'm going to agree with Prisuta today, mainly because of the first one. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. I took that more as the whole season. Hopefully it's a better finish than a better start at 1-2-1. Also, Prisuta and I look like homecoming dates, so sorry, Labs. We accidentally matched today. That is going to do it today for Steelers Live. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m.